Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101, and the fact that makes your brain go. $4.8 billion was wasted on something infuriating in 2024. And instead of guessing on the text line, we ended up getting a lot of recycling tips and some comments about case guessed it's wasted on recycling that doesn't get recycled. And I went on a little bit of a diatribe about how I just got a note on our blue bin at our complex that said, don't put the recyclables in a bag, just dump it in the blue bin. But I have to carry it down 4 steps. I have 2 garbage cans. They both have bags in them, recyclables for one, the other garbage for other. I carry it down. I throw the whole thing in. I've already wasted a garbage bag. What am I supposed to do? And I thought it was plastic, and it gets recycled too.
God, you sound insane right now. You're talking so fast.
Let me slow down a little bit. Okay, slow down. Now on the text line, what are we saying, Case?
Well, I think we've negatively influenced the world. 708 checked in. They said, garbage man here, we're dumping all the cardboard straight into the trash today.
Wait, just today because we're this rant?
Just today. Monday goes back to normal. Today, I would not want to be a piece of cardboard.
I was not trying to change the process. April checked in from 815. She says, in caps, Bryant, just take the whole bin downstairs with you. Keep the garbage bag in the bin as a way to keep it clean. And then when the bag gets dirty, change it. Appreciate you, April. However.
Love you.
Love you to death. But I'm still wasting a bag then at the end of the day for some reason.
Well, that's not waste if you get multiple uses out of it.
It's still going to end up a wasted bag eventually.
Okay,
and
hey, man, we all end up at the ground eventually. If you got to reuse a trash bag here and there, you got to reuse a trash bag here and there.
Why can't the trash bag be recyclable?
I don't know. I feel like that should exist by now.
Now, William checked in and said, get paper bags when the grocery shopping and use said bag for recycling charade receptacle. The only people I know of, Whole Foods has paper bags.
Everybody's got paper bags, other than Target.
Target's got plastic. What's Walmart got? They got. I don't think there's paper bags at Walmart.
You get a paper bag at Walmart.
Costco has no bags. You got to get a box.
Well, but the box is recyclable. It's a cardboard box.
I do throw the box right in the blue reciprocal.
Let's not get tripped up here.
All right, let's move forward about the $4.8 billion.
Was I right?
$4.8 billion. No, you were not right about that's what's wasted in recycling. $4.8 billion. I said this would be infuriating, and it is. $4.8 billion was lost in 2024 to scammers to seniors.
Oh, that's not good.
No. Preying on grandmama and pop and somehow bilking them out of $4.8 billion. That pisses me off to all end. This is why we need a guillotine back in Town Square, in the center of Town Square, for people that would take money from grandmama and pop. Now, not to be left out, in total, even young people and old people, $16.6 billion was lost in 2024 to scammers. That's a 33% increase from just 2023 to 2024.
How are we getting worse at getting scammed?
You'd think we're getting smarter with these things.
You would think.
You'd think we're getting smarter. But the problem is, as we've taken the training here at the radio station, AI, the winner of Piece of Garbage Madness. You can't tell what email, what text, what phone call. I learned in our training, by the way. I took the training. Just like all the training we get.
What do you learn in our training?
I learned in our training that what AI can do with some apps is go to your social media, and if you've talked on your social media, it can imitate the voice, and maybe it's even a boss or a friend. And then they can call you. They take that voice and manipulate it so when it calls you, it's not a person, it's still AI. And telling you to, hey, by the way, you got to transfer that $2,000 today. Do it by the end of the day, Bob. We'll see you golfing tomorrow. It's not that guy you think it is or girl, your boss, and then you transfer it, and before you know it, it's gone.
Well, the tough thing with you is that you have called listeners begging for money, and you do need financial compensation. And actually, if you hear Brian's voice guessing for money, it's not a scam. It is an emergency. You do need to send him $5,000 immediately.
So if it's my voice,
it's fine.
Send it.
The money.
Send it.
Brian and Kenzie
On Q101.
Huge night last night in Chicago. Well, actually up north of the border, but what the Bears did with their number 10 draft pick, and it's astounding. I was right. I will tell you about that in sports coming up. But first, some breaking news as we go to our friends over in the region in Indiana. Not a very nice headline. $2 cigarette tax has been added to the Indiana state budget. Tobacco products are set to be more heavily taxed in Indiana as lawmakers scramble to reel in a projected $2.4 billion shortfall in the state's budget. No, that $2.4 billion was not wasted and scammed out of seniors in Indiana, but their budget, just like in Illinois and Chicago, the budgets are always, it's amazing how much in debt Chicago and Indiana as a state, and Illinois as a state, is when we think all we do is pay taxes. And the only answer is to add it on to something. And I'm not a smoker, and if you are a smoker, you should stop. I'm not judging. I'm just saying there's no happy ending there. I've had family members that smoked, and it's just rough to watch the effects of it. So I'm not saying smoke. But if you do,
land the plane.
$2 cigarette tax is atrocious, especially for our Illinois smokers who go over the border to get cigarettes. It's my friends that smoke. They'll go, I'm making a run. What are you doing this weekend? Making a run to Indiana for cigarettes. That's how a weekend goes sometimes. Because it's that much cheaper in Indiana for cigarettes than Illinois and Chicago.
Well, you made me nervous when you said we were heading over the border for a second because Kenzie's out today. She's in Mexico. And the last time Kenzie was out and it was just you and I, we started a war between Indiana and Illinois. This, by the way, what a horrible situation it is for the third of the state that wants to go to Indiana. I would imagine some cigarette smokers in that cluster.
Man, listen.
All of a sudden, these taxes, they're not looking too much better in Indiana.
Maybe this will be a peace treaty of sorts, or quell their quest to move to Indiana. Those 30.
Quell their quest. Shel Silverstein over here.
I've been reading a thesaurus at night.
No kidding.
Instead of going to get cigarettes in Indiana, that's what I've been doing. This is the thing with this tax and just adding one more tax on. There's, again, you shouldn't smoke. You should try to stop. But some people do and they love it. I can't judge. I have bad habits too. Food in general.
I was going to ask, what are your bad habits?
Food. And then when I drink a lot as opposed.
You love drinking.
I don't drink that often anymore with the kid because it's just harder. But when I do drink and I have a babysitter, I'm going to get my buzz on. So some people with cigarettes are like that. But I am not one to count people's money if you've done well in life. For example, if you created something and made millions, perhaps even billions of dollars. If you've done something right with that money and you've done something great for society, fine. But if you're going to add a $2 tax onto something, shouldn't it be something that richer people do as opposed to, and I'm not saying only poor people smoke, but I'm saying that there's certainly more people like us, the blue-collar people that keep the city and the states running, that grab a smoke after, let's say, pouring some steel in Northwest Indiana. Don't you think they should have a right to do that without adding $2 onto that smoke?
I agree. This feels like a weird thing to tax. There's plenty of other things you could go after.
So I Googled rich people hobbies.
Because we're not rich. We don't know what they do.
The first one that comes up is sailing.
Ugh.
So why not put a sailing tax over in Indiana? Let's say that instead of adding that on there, you got Miller Beach. People go sailing over there. New Buffalo is basically the Hamptons of the Midwest. There's a lot of places to boat over there in the Indiana region. That's Michigan, I understand. But still, tax per boat, $2 to go in the water.
Okay.
I don't think those people that have a boat are going to miss $2. People that smoke will miss that $2.
But those are the people that are going to complain the loudest.
Oh, yes.
The sailors.
Hey, Bob, you're going into the lake this weekend with your catamaran. That's the only boat. It's the only boat I can think of. Well, I was, but they're adding a $2 tax, so I'm boycotting it. I'm going to picket in front of the courthouse until they remove the tax so I can get my catamaran in the water on this glorious day.
This glorious day.
So sailing, how about a $2 tax on sailing?
Okay, what else? What else do rich people do? I'd love to live vicariously through them.
Horse racing. Now, listen, I used to gamble at Arlington before they tore down that track, and the Bears Stadium will be announced going there very soon. I know it.
I'm sure.
So a lot of us go gamble on horses, but these are people that own the horses.
Yeah, not because the jockeys aren't rich either.
No, just the owners are rich. When you watch Kentucky Derby, they're always rich.
Can you imagine having horse racing money?
Add $2 a horse. That's all I'm saying.
Come on now.
Add $2 a horse.
Give me a horse tax.
Wine making. Not drinking, making wine.
Well, isn't that like the grape lady? Isn't that what she did?
Oh,
she was stomping on those grapes and she
fell.
She
was not rich. Collecting antiques is a rich person hobby.
Yeah, kinda. It depends on what the antique is.
Like a Monet painting for $7 million.
You know what's sad is my version of an antique was like an old copy of a Sports Illustrated. I was like, that's an antique. And then I realized, wait, no, there's like paintings that you can buy.
Here's one, a rich person hobby, big game hunting.
Like the owner of Jimmy John's. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
He's never seen a giraffe that he didn't want to kill.
You can go big game hunting, $2 a giraffe.
Can you imagine getting to a point in your life where you've had all of this success, you have all of this money, and for family vacation, your kids get a few weeks off of school here in the summer, and you go, guys, load up the car. We're going to South Africa. I've got a rhinoceros to kill. I can't imagine getting to that point in life.
However, Jimmy John's sandwich is pretty delicious.
Oh, big fan.
Give me the East Coast Italian.
Oh, my goodness.
Some of those jalapeno chips and a big Coke.
Oh, man, I wish they still had the Kickin' Ranch. That was a top-tier condiment.
Add a brookie to it for dessert. Forget about it. One final rich person hobby.
By the way, real quick, somebody on the text line asked if Boat Guy was related to Stats Guy. We were doing Stats Guy voice earlier this week. Boat Guy sounds like his cousin.
Also, Jim said, stop coming for my hobbies. Brian's in it for the money. Son of a bitch.
Jonas, son of a bitch.
All right, one more rich person hobby they could tax in Indiana instead of cigarettes for the people who just need to grab a smoke. Philanthropy.
Is that a hobby?
That means you have so much money that your hobby is giving it away.
Oh, my God.
So why not add a $2 tax to giving away money instead of cigarettes? Indiana lawmakers, are you listening? Good Lord.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Very disturbing. It affects everybody listening. It's targeted to Indiana, a tax that's coming to Indiana, but it also affects Illinois. We'll explain in a second. But first, we get to the text line coming in of our last conversation about $200 being a lot of money. Case saying it seemed like a very little amount of money in the movie Friday, which you reviewed at 8 o'clock, where they needed to obtain that to then get some reefer. So now Carl checked in and said $200 ain't crap now. Back then it was a lot of money. The movie came out 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. He says a 40 was $1.69.
Oh, man.
Oh, good 40. Colt 45, 40. One of my first things I ever had.
Do you know what the price of a 40 is now?
I don't. I haven't had a 40 in a while.
I feel like our listeners will know. Somebody check in with the current price of a 40. I'm sure they'll know.
I bet it's about $17 for a 40 now.
That feels like such a good deal. $1.69. My goodness.
Do you know what a 40 is? You know why they call it a 40?
Well, it's a 40, as they talk about in the movie 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube has to pronounce correct Channing Tatum on his pronunciation of a 40.
Yes.
Do I know why?
Amazing you've seen that movie.
It's newer. Do I know why they call it a 40? No, I do not. I assumed it was like 40 ounces of booze.
Correct. That's it. That's all it is.
I'm a big party guy.
Don't overthink it.
I have fun. I go out. I know what's going on.
All right, so terrible news coming to Indiana, in my opinion, and even though this is something that is a bad habit, smoking, so the Indiana lawmakers are pushing through one more tax for Indiana and the $2.4 billion shortfall in the state's budget. Chicago's broke, Indiana's broke, Illinois is broke. They figure out ways to get us there by taxing the hardworking people of the state in some way. For example, here we have all the speed cameras.
Yes.
I got another ticket, by the way. The key is when you drive around the city, I get in the car and I have my phone on GPS, the Google Maps going, and people go, what, you don't know where you're going? I thought you were Mr. Chicago. I do know where I'm going, but Google Maps will tell you when a speed camera's coming up. You can see it on the scroll.
And you still got a speeding ticket?
It was a quick trip, and it was one of those newer cameras. So I know where they are all in kind of my general area on Irving Park.
It was a quick trip as in you were speeding? You were going so fast?
That's right.
What do you mean it was a quick trip?
I was going to Costco, but I only needed milk. We ran out of milk for Harper. And
I went to Costco? You can't go to Walgreens for that?
It's way cheaper at Costco. But now it's not because it turns out that milk is going to cost me $47 with the $35 ticket added on.
That's awesome.
It's a bunch of crap is what it is. And that's what states and cities do to just hurt the people that are actually need the most help, to be honest, like myself and you.
How much did you say Indiana was over budget by?
They need $2.4 billion as a shortfall.
Okay. I was born in Indiana, lived there most of my life. I say this all the love in the world of the Hoosier State. what are they spending money on to where that is what's happened to their state finances?
I mean, I guess it's probably a lot of it is pensions. That's the problem in Illinois. I think it's more of a multi-billion-dollar problem of pensions of people that have city, state jobs or union-type jobs.
It's those damn teachers, I tell you.
The teachers, damn it. All they do is teach kids how to talk and work on the future of people.
Give us a functioning society. This is what we get.
Happy Teachers Week next week, I believe it is.
That's right. Teachers during class with Kenzie all week long.
So because the $2.4 billion shortfall, they're going to add a $2 tax on cigarettes in Indiana, which is mind-blowing for a lot of reasons. First off, I'm not against people that made millions of dollars and want to grab all their money. Some people are like that. Hey, tax them $1 billion, whatever. If you did something great and you made a lot of money, fine, okay? But why would you tax the people that go into the steel mills and make something and then come out and grab a smoke for some enjoyment at lunch? And smoking is bad. You should stop. I swear I don't like it. And I'm not for smoking when you hear this. It's a bad, bad habit. I had a lot of friends that couldn't kick it. And it's terrible. But if it's your only form of enjoyment, adding $2 on that someone's doing the steelworker job or whatever job, that's tough. That's what I picture smokers, real men and women, go out there and they have a drag, smoke after a hard day's work.
Hence, we don't smoke.
Correct. Someone kindly pointed out, Brian, you're not blue collar. You work behind a desk.
That is true.
It doesn't mean I didn't grow up blue collar.
But it's cultural appropriation now.
I grew up blue collar. I made it.
You're culturally appropriating. It's no different than people that wear like a Native American headdress to a Kansas City Chiefs game.
By the way, I have an Apple Watch, and I hit my stand goal today. I hit my stand goal today, so I'm standing. I don't just sit behind a desk. I stand here on the air. But I find this appalling. The governor, Mike Braun, and the legislative leaders should be ashamed of themselves in Indiana for adding a tax. The first tax hike on cigarettes, by the way, in 20 years. It affects Illinois because a lot of my friends that smoke here go to the border. That's their weekend activity.
That's a whole trip.
I go, what are you doing? Well, this weekend, you want to go to a Cubs game? Nope, I'm going to Indiana to get cigarettes.
And how long does that take? Well, I'm loading up the car, you see. Multiple trips. It's all I'm doing. I've got a wheelbarrow in my trunk right now.
I've got 4 U-Hauls. Yeah. This is a lengthy process.
I'm calling it a cargo plane.
But from my understanding, it's that much of a savings. I don't smoke, so it's that much of a savings to go to Indiana to get cigarettes. Now they're adding $2 there, and out-of-staters will probably have to pay that as well, or maybe even more, bringing it back. And I thought, again, my point was, we don't have to grab all the money from rich people, but a $2 tax should go toward rich people hobbies, not from smoking. For example,
we had to Google rich people hobbies because, you see, we're not rich.
I don't know what rich people hobbies are. For example, one is hot air ballooning. So why don't they just do every time a balloon goes up, $2 to the people that do it? If you can go hot air ballooning, you can spare $2.
It just now hit me that in the same way that, like, we work in this industry, and so we know all the drama that happens around us, and teachers, there's scuttlebutt in the teacher's lounge always. I just realized there are people that are wealthy enough that have enough money to where their life is consumed by hot air balloon drama in the hot air balloon community. What a life that must be.
Put a $2 tax on hot air ballooning.
Please.
That's all I'm saying. Also, one more rich person hobby that we had to Google, mountaineering.
What's mountaineering?
Climbing mountains? Mountain climbing? What do they call it in the cave? They call it
splunking, right?
Splunking. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit of an outdoorsman myself.
That goes with mountaineering, which, that's only what a rich person would do is go to a cave to climb inside a cave because you're bored. I guess.
Don't you have to go to the grocery store? Like, by the time I'm through with all the chores I have to do in a weekend, I don't have time to splunk.
So for every splunk, $2. How about doing that?
It'd be fair.
Big game hunting. Big game hunting. Love animals here on the show. Dogs, cats, giraffes, whatever. I know dogs and cats aren't part of big game hunting.
If you're hunting dogs and cats, it's a separate conversation.
And also look out for you're raising a serial killer.
That's right.
How about if you're going to do it and we can't stop you, $2 a giraffe.
I can't fathom being in a position in which I have enough money to, say, own a baseball team or buy a record label or do something like that, and I spend my weekends instead hunting antelope for fun. I can't even imagine getting into that lifestyle.
Chrissy just checked in from 219, Indiana, said Mike Braun, the governor, had a helicopter pad installed in his home in Jasper so he could get to Indianapolis quicker. Okay, tax the helipad. Every time they got to repave the helipad, it's $2.
Wow, a helipad in Jasper, Indiana is a first. That is the one and only they have in Jasper. I did not know that. That is really. It's sad for the taxpayer. It's really funny also.
Thank you for checking in on that one. A lot of people are texting in golfing, and I'm not going to put that on the list because I like golfing.
It's a little too close to home.
Well, golfing isn't necessarily a rich person sport. It really, not anymore. It used to be, but now, us regular folk get out there and hit some balls, and it's fun. I'm not going to tax golfing. We're not going to do that. But one other rich person hobby, maybe the number one, was philanthropy.
I didn't know that was a hobby.
See, Case, what that means is you have so much money that it becomes a hobby giving it away.
That sounds awesome. I got to get in on that. And also, who are they giving the money away to? I haven't benefited from that.
Well, you're in that weird place where you're charity, but not enough charity.
I think that's called middle class.
Well, it used to be. So how about every time you give away money, you add $2 more as a tax to philanthropy?
And then Indiana will balance those books in no time.
Exactly. Forget about the cigarette tax. Even though I'm against smoking, do not smoke, kids. Don't do it. It's a terrible habit. And try to quit if you can because we want you here longer. We love you. But if you're going to tax cigarettes, take it away and put it on spelunking or whatever. That would be a nice way to balance the budget, Indiana.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Well, continuing this conversation that Indiana adding a $2 cigarette tax to help with their $2.4 billion budget shortfall. This was put through legislation in the governor, and it's moving forward. I find this offensive. And I'm not saying smoking's good. In fact, it's terrible. You should stop smoking. And I know how hard it is. I have so many family members. My grandma smoked for 50 years. She lived to 95 somehow.
Hell of a run.
Yeah, I used to love the smell of smoke when I was a kid, so I realized, it's not so good. So you should try to stop. You shouldn't start. I want to make that very clear when I talk about this. The point is, there are people that smoke, that do the hardest jobs out there. They grab a smoke just to relieve a little bit, take a smoke break, and they're trying to add on $2 to that. The people that work the hardest don't need these taxes. How about, just a thought, tax people that have the means? And I'm not anti-rich either, but how about rich people activities? Maybe put $2 on that. So,
So somebody on the text line brought up croquet. The
Croquet.
game. That's something we can tax.
100%. I'm fine with taxing croquet.
And that's bipartisan, by the way. That would bring unity to this country if we taxed croquet.
I think so. We have a lot of texts coming in. We talked about Chrissy checked in about the governor, Mike Braun, has a helipad at his house in Jasper, Indiana, so he can go to Indianapolis quicker. And then she's followed up and said, thanks for talking about that on the air. Made my day. It cost taxpayers $117,000 to make a helipad.
Oh, my God.
I mean, drive from, I don't know how far Jasper is from Indianapolis.
Far.
Okay. Make that drive and learn your state. Stop in local diners. Spend some money on the way. Get some eggs.
Wear a denim shirt so people know you're one of them. And a trucker cap.
At least pretend.
Come on now.
Putting a helicopter just spitting in their faces. A helipad at your house. On the text line, Case.
219 checked in, and they said you both, Brian and I, of course, Kenzie out in Mexico. She'll be back next week, so it's just Brian and I today. 219 said, you both clearly live in Illinois. How many hot air balloons, giraffes, and caves do you think are in Indiana? You'd make no money taxing those things. I have 2 points to make here. First of all, there are plenty of caves in Indiana. Corydon, Indiana. I took a school field trip there as a child. I'm from Indiana. The Indiana Caverns. You can go splunk your heart away in Corydon, Indiana. So add a cave tax to that state. Second of all, I don't know what they've been telling you on the news. I know a lot of things are said about Chicago. There are wild giraffes running around this city at will. There's no big game hunters downtown. You go on Lower Wacker right now, there's no giraffes. I don't know what people are telling you. It's not like we have a giraffe surplus here.
He might be on to something. I did see a giraffe last night on Ashland Avenue. I did see a giraffe. More text coming in on this possible, or this tax going forward, $2 on cigarette taxes. It affects Illinois because a lot of my friends that do smoke, they drive. They spend weekends driving to Indiana for the cheap cigarettes.
Also, it affects us because of the Cold War going on between Indiana and Illinois and the fact that Indiana wants to take 30 of our counties away.
Chuck from 708 checked in. So from Illinois said, J.B. Pritzker put a tax on golf carts and pole cart rentals. I'm not a rich jerk, Chuck says from Countryside. And I forgot about that when we did all the new laws and rules of 2025. So I've checked the stats on this. Starting January 2025, golf courses in Illinois were required to tax 6.25% on golf carts and pole rentals. There's a golf course called Four-Way Challenge Golf and Driving Range. They put this post up to their people saying, we are required to start taxing on golf carts and daily rentals. Now, they say at this time we'll include the tax in the price of the cart rental. It won't be in addition to. Don't shoot the messenger, they said in their Facebook post. Go. They sound like good people over there. Go check out that golf course.
So we were talking about, instead of taxing cigarettes, we should be taxing rich people's hobbies, which, of course, then we had to Google what rich people hobbies are because we're not exactly in that club.
Yep.
Andrew on the text line texted in from Chicago. Tax fancy mustards. Rich people have more than one type of mustard in the fridge. The more types of mustard you have, the richer you are.
Pardon me. But do you have any Grey Poupon? Remember those commercials?
I do.
The finer things in life. Happily, some are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course, sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
Grey Poupon. It even has wine.
It even has wine.
Rich ass.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101, Green Day at Riot Fest. And remember, Monday at 8, your chance to qualify for Fest for a chance to go to the Boston Calling Music Festival with a one-day ticket to Riot Fest, which could be the day that Green Day is playing at Riot Fest. So make sure you're here every day next week at 8 o'clock, this exact time. Put it in your phone to remind yourself. Now we move on to Case's movie review. Kathy in Melrose Park said she put this on her calendar, and she never seen Friday either. So she watched it this week and says, Case, and this is from her text, from checking it from Melrose Park, don't F up this review. So let's see what happens. Let's get into it.
For Christ's sake, tomorrow's the 4th of July, and we will be open for business.
What country you from? What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English in what?
Utah. Give me 2.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand.
Now fry like bacon, you little freshman piggies. Fry!
Playing football in West Canaan may have been the opportunity of your lifetime, but I don't want your life.
Friday, written and starring Ice Cube, dropped April 26, 1995, so technically tomorrow, 30 years ago. The budget was $3.5 million, and the box office was $27.4 million. I have to assume it was in hundreds of million with DVDs and tapes later on. We're going back that far, on that one. Rotten Tomatoes gives the film an approval rating of 77% based on 30 reviews with an average rating of 6.4 out of 10. Director Quentin Tarantino counted Friday as one of his 20 favorite movies from 1992 to 2009.
I would not have guessed that.
Odd. But warranted. So let's start how we always start with the trailer. This is how it was promoted in TV and commercial land. Friday, 30 years ago.
If you ain't got my money, I'm killing you and him. You done dragged me into this?
You know what your problem is. You have no game.
I got all the gang. Ice Cube, Chris Tucker, Bernie Mac, Johnny Witherspoon.
Your father, he got game.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 45 minutes. Friday. Somebody open the window.
Directed by F. Gary Gray. When you see the movie Friday, check out Dr. Dre's new video on the big screen. Rated R. Starts Wednesday.
Wait, what?
So the only trailer, this is fantastic. If this isn't a sign that this movie's 30 years old, the only trailer that exists on YouTube for this movie is one that advertises that, hey, go see the movie because you can also see Dr. Dre's new music video in theaters.
I have to hear that again. This is the end of the commercial for Friday.
Somebody open the window. Directed by F. Gary Gray. When you see the movie Friday, check out Dr. Dre's new video on the big screen. Rated R. Starts Wednesday.
That is fantastic. I love that.
It would get me to go to theaters. That's awesome.
Oh, it's so good. So this is a movie that I love. And I'm curious, just like our check-in from Melrose Park, if, I love that people are watching these movies that haven't seen either the week you do the review. So go ahead, Case. What did you think of the movie Friday?
I was so surprised at, sometimes I watch a really big movie like a Shawshank or something, and I get DMs the night before like, oh, you better like this. I'm going to be pissed if you don't. I was surprised that Friday had the same level of fandom, the same level of fervor of people really, really hoping that I loved this movie. And I have to say, even though, and I think this is a fair assessment, you tell me if I'm wrong, even though I'm not exactly a weed guy, not exactly a pothead, if you would say so.
Have you ever smoked pot?
I've barely been around it, let alone smoked it. No, I have not.
Okay.
Not my thing. More power to you if it is. Not really my thing. I gotta say, for a stoner comedy, this is a delightful movie. This is so much fun.
Said a non-stoner. Yeah. It's delightful. No one ever called Friday delightful before.
It's a real hoot, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I was slapping my knee the entire time.
It's a hoot. I was slapping my knee. Yes, your 77-year-old grandmother just saw Friday.
Well, and I think the thing that is so great about this movie is over the last year, as I've started to watch all these films, this started because when I started working with Brian, the only two movies I had seen were Boys in the Hood and Norbit. And the reason this movie came about is that Ice Cube was kind of sick of there only being one dominant black film being made at that time, a Boys in the Hood type movie. And he went, in South Central, we have laughs every now and then. Yeah. We can be fun guys as well. And this movie made me realize I got to start hanging out on porches. This whole movie takes place in one neighborhood. It basically takes place on one street. They go in a few different houses here or there. They're in backyards bopping around. But by and large, they're sitting on a porch for most of this movie. I gotta start sitting on porches. I'm missing out on all this action by being inside with the lights off like I normally am.
Porch, stoop, whatever you refer to it as.
I gotta get a stoop in my life. I have no stoop.
Stoop. Wait.
Stoop, baby.
I was gonna say stoop sitting is fun.
Oh.
Stoop sitting. You gotta be careful with that. Stoop sitting. Yes, very good. It is all basically filmed on a porch, and you see the emergence of Chris Tucker. You see his genius in this movie as well.
Well, I love how low stakes it is. It's one day, a famous line, how do you get fired on your day off? It's Friday. They need to come up with $200. I love that it's only $200. It's not this high stakes like, oh, you need $1,000 and then you're going to get evicted and then this and that and the other thing. It's like, hey, you need to get the drug dealer $200. It's a very low-stakes movie. And it's the first time, I talked a few weeks ago when I watched Top Gun. It was the first Tom Cruise movie that I had ever seen. This was the first Chris Tucker movie that I had ever seen. Let me tell you, funny guy.
Pretty funny, and didn't stick with the whole series of Friday movies. Big mistake on his part, by the way, in the sequel. So
this is going to make it sound like a dumb question, but I don't know. What else has he done? It's a name I've only heard. I had never seen a movie of his before.
Why am I drawing a blank on Chris Tucker all of a sudden? Because
I felt like this was in your wheelhouse.
Well, again, from Friday, and he made a big mistake. He was in, boy, I'm really drawing a blank.
I wasn't expecting you to. I apologize.
Because I thought Friday was his first movie. I just went through his filmography. The Meteor Man and House Party 3 was actually his first two movies before Friday.
Well, Friday was his first real movie. Rush Hour he was in the Rush Hour franchise. Is that what I'm thinking of?
He was in Rush Hour.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
And he had a small role in Silver Linings Playbook, which was very funny. He hasn't done tons of movies.
That's a shame because, Ice Cube is a great actor, and I love him as Doughboy in Boys in the Hood, and I loved him when he visited the studio a few years ago, and in the elevator, I told him Boys in the Hood was my favorite movie of all time, and he did not seem impressed by that. But Chris Tucker really steals this movie. I mean, what an electric actor this guy is. It's a shame. I know there's 2 Friday sequels. I looked that up last night. It's a shame he's not in either of those because I would watch them just on my own time.
Correct.
He's so funny in this movie. The great thing about Friday is I did not realize this is the origin story for Bye Felicia.
Yeah, right?
This is such a quotable movie. There were so many quotes in this movie between that and he gonna cry in the car.
Oh.
And how do you get fired on your day off? And the gif that I've seen a million times where Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, when they're on the stoop and they go, damn, I didn't know that was from a movie.
Wait. How does that go again?
So Chris Tucker and Ice Cube are on a stoop and they go, damn.
What'd you think it was from?
I don't know.
How you at?
Oh, it's cool.
Damn! Put your glasses back on.
You just thought it was some gift people created.
I thought it was just a gift that people's moms sent each other on Facebook. I didn't know it was from a movie.
It is funny that this movie has an incredible amount of quotable parts like damn, and you mentioned he's going to cry in the car. That's what I love that the most, of course, from Friday.
You're going to cry in the car.
That's my chain now. Debo, rest in peace.
Debo, rest in peace. Zeus from the WWF.
Well, exactly. And also, you mentioned John Witherspoon. The other quotable thing, don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 40 minutes. John Witherspoon came on the show, and he was the nicest, so funny dude, and he loved doing the lines. Some guys, when they do something great that they're remembered for, want to move on from it, and they want to say, hey, I'm doing stuff now. He lived in the lines that he did in movies, John Witherspoon, rest in peace as well, and boy, is he funny, and he was a real nice man.
Well, I am not normally somebody, as I wrap up here, I'm not somebody that typically enjoys, I think the term is scatological humor. I'm not a bathroom humor guy. It grosses me out. Not normally my thing. There's a lot of bathroom jokes in this movie. They're all hilarious. They really threaded a needle there that made me comfortable laughing at what happens in your most intimate moments of privacy, i.e. the bathroom. Normally a thing I'm incredibly uncomfortable by, but in this movie it really worked.
Also, John Witherspoon having the really intellectual part about don't take the gun, use your fists. Come to fight another day.
The problem today is nobody gets their ass kicked anymore.
No. And, the big fight at the end that goes on forever, it feels like.
It goes on for a very long time. Right? Look, this is not a perfect movie. It's a fun movie. It's not a perfect movie.
It gets a little too serious. I'm like, what happened to the weed? Let's just do that.
I want to hear jokes. I want them to be back on the stoop.
Oh, Debo, that's my bike. That's my bike now. All right, so let's see. What are you going to rate this on? Joints?
Out of doobies, I think.
Doobies?
I think that's what I did Dazed and Confused with.
Many people with you saying this movie was a hoot, a knee slapper, and now you're saying doobies. This is the whitest review of Friday ever, but go ahead, Casey. Doobies, what do you rate this movie?
I don't think we're going to send this tape to Ice Cube's camp to get him back on the show.
He's coming, so we should try to get him in again. He's coming to the United Center. So it's not the big three. He's performing.
At the United Center?
Yeah, I believe he is.
Ooh, okay.
I'll have to double check that, but I believe he's coming. We got to get him in. He was so fun last time.
He was great, and we'll have more fun this time.
If you keep saying doobies, he's not coming in.
Look, I got to rate this movie out of doobies. It's a stoner classic. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a very fun movie. I liked it for what it was. I thought it was funnier than, say, Tommy Boy.
That's unbelievable.
Funnier than Dazed and Confused. I'd go a solid 7 doobies out of 10.
7 doobies.
On the 30th anniversary of Friday.
All right, there's the review. If you came in at the end, it'll be on the podcast.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.